The Mario and Luigi games have a few different types of attacks. The standard jump, hammer, and hand attacks that are only in Superstar Saga, but the most iconic and powerful are the Bros attacks. Attacks where Mario and Luigi team up to deal massive damage. And in the latest game, Mario and Luigi Brothership, there's 10 of them, some new and some old. And I'll be ranking all of them in this video. The criteria that I'll be ranking them on is just how much I like using them. That's not to say the amount of damage they do is completely irrelevant to my ranking, it's just not the main thing I care about for this video. I know, right? Ranking a part of a video game based on how fun it is? That's absurd. Picking one to go in last place was actually really hard, because I don't think any of them are bad. But I just decided to choose the one that I easily used the least. Yoo-Hoo Cannon. This one is returning from Bowser's Inside Story and isn't the first one I'd choose from that game to make a comeback. It functions very similarly in Brothership as it does in Bowser's Inside Story. Just memorize where each Mario or Luigi is and press their corresponding button when the cannon lights up. The only new thing is that the clones get collected into this giant cannon that shoots at a giant Bros ball when you press X. So the only new thing is an additional button press. It's flashy and cool to watch, just one I rarely ever used. The green shell is another returning one, although its functionality has been tweaked a little bit. In the previous two games, Dream Team and Paper Jam, the final kick would only hit one enemy, but in Brothership they made it so that it would hit every enemy that's on the ground. The fact that it only hits grounded enemies is what hurts it. Spoilers for the red shell, which is later in this video. It may only hit one enemy, but it can also hit flying enemies. This is another returning attack and the first of Mario's in this video. Bomb Derby was originally from Dream Team and then reappeared in Paper Jam just a couple of years later. And since this is its third consecutive appearance, I'm kind of just tired of it. It's worsened by the fact that it's barely any different from its previous appearances. You just toss the bombs and hit them at the enemies. It's all about timing, just like every other attack. The only difference is that the final bomb, instead of being just one big bomb, is a capsule full of missiles. Functionally, the big bomb and the missiles are very similar. It's just that the missiles hit every enemy and the big bomb would only hit one. I do really like this change though, because I would always hate when the big bomb would just go for a small enemy instead of the boss or something. Like, you always want it to hit a specific one, but it would never hit that one. And I'm glad Dream Team is getting some representation, but I wouldn't have picked this attack from that game. I feel like Jetboard Bash would have been more interesting to see come back. They could have even changed the perspective or something. I definitely think Bomb Derby is at its best in Brothership. I just wish it wasn't brought back in Paper Jam. That would have made its return here a lot cooler. Much like the green shell, the red shell is similar to its previous iterations, but with a few differences. Although this time the differences are much more noticeable. Instead of kicking it, hitting an enemy, kicking it, hitting an enemy, and so on, Mario and Luigi kick it between each other to build up energy or something, I don't know. Then Mario does one final powerful kick that'll hit any enemy, whether it's in the sky or on the ground. I really like that they differentiated the shells a lot more in this game, because before, while they were different, they felt nearly identical. I mean, if you were colorblind, you probably couldn't tell which shell attack was which. And hey, this version of Red Shell is actually faster than its previous versions, which is a rare thing for this game. I really like the concept of Hatch Me If You Can. You volley a Yoshi egg back and forth a couple of times and then you spike it into an enemy. Then the Yoshi will hatch and do a ground pound, which will hit every enemy with a shockwave. My only real complaint is that the action commands are really simple. You just hit A, then B, or vice versa. Aim, press X, and then you're done. I feel like you should have had to time the ground pound with Y or something, and I also find it kind of weird that it goes from a great to an excellent without you doing anything. With the Zapperator, you alternate pressing A and B to make the storm cloud larger. The larger it is, the more lightning that it makes strike all of the enemies. I'm not the greatest at this one. I think I just try to go too fast and end up messing it up. And when I mess up, it's really hard for me to get back on rhythm. Although that's definitely just a me problem. It's still good though. My inability to play the video game doesn't detract from its level of goodness. Conductor Connector is Mario's final attack, and before I get into this, let me just say I totally called this. In a YouTube short I posted before the game had even leaked, I said this: "We still don't know what Mario's final Bros attack is. However, if I had to make a guess, I would guess it's something very specific to this game, like the Z-Keeper Egg in Dream Team, or Toad Trail in Paper Jam." And that's exactly what this is. It uses the Great Conductor, who is a character in the game that I'm almost willing to bet will be extremely obscure in 15 to 20 years. And that's because he's almost definitely never going to appear in another game. Mario gets shot up into space, You have to flick the thumbstick to shoot them at these electrical thingies. And in order to get an excellent, you have to get all of them before the time runs out. Then you have to aim and time your shot. It's pretty tricky to hit the electrical thingies, and it's also pretty tricky to aim and time your shot. But once you get it down, it's really satisfying to do, and it does a ton of damage. I was wondering where our fire flower attack was because every game since Partners in Time has had one. It just turns out they decided to save it for Luigi's last attack, Max Mix Vortex. Although I don't really know if this counts as a fire flower attack, but it's my video, so who cares? You have to get a fairly even amount of fire and ice balls into this tornado, and then Mario and Luigi will spin it, making it more powerful. You then move the tornado around while mashing X in a way very similar to Luigi Neri Typhoon from Dream Team. My only real problem is that it's kind of slow to do the fire and ice. If you stink at the game, look at me. The way Jump Helmet is implemented in this game is just really cool. This is another returning one, again from Bowser's Inside Story. Kind of. Jump Helmet was originally supposed to return in Dream Team. We know this because of sprites found in the game's files. And it looks like it was going to function exactly how it does in Brothership. It's really cool that they decided to revisit an over decade-old idea for this game. The controls are similar to the original, just obviously with the changed perspective. Move Mario left and right to line him up with Luigi, and press B when Luigi lands. I don't really think there's a single problem with this attack. My only complaint is that the ending cinematic part is kind of slow, but so is basically everything else in this game, so it's not really that big of a deal. I just think Clockout Blow is cool. You freeze time, which allows Mario and Luigi to hit the enemies with their hammers over and over again. And it's just really unique compared to all the other ones because it doesn't really use an item. Sure, you use the clock to freeze time, but the actual attacking doesn't use one. And that kind of reminds me of the Bros attacks from Superstar Saga. That kind of attack hasn't been done since that game. So that's my list. Let me know what yours is and how much you hate mine. And if you enjoyed it, please like the video. I don't really try to push that, but I decided to try it out for this video. So yeah, like the video if you liked it, leave a dislike if you want Bomb Derby to return for the 4th time.